right, guys, we're going to take a look at this, what happened to Chipotle. Yo, I love Chipotle. However, we have a local chain. I think they're local. At least they're like more regional where I live, called Hot Heads Burritos. And I actually think they're better most of the time. But I do like Chipotle every once in a while. I like their rice better than the other place. But I will say the last couple times that I have gotten Chipotle, it's not been the best. And I saw this video and I was like, I wonder if they actually know what is going on. So let's take a look, shall we?
15 Chipotle has been on a roller coaster. Business plummeted following a series of foodborne illness outbreaks. But
that was, oh yeah, back in 2008.
The workers think they have figured out what made nearly 647 people sick at an Ohio Chipotle. Food temperature.
Ohio Chipotle.
Since 2008, Chipotle has had 10 scandals regarding food poisoning, which has affected thousands of people, spreading diseases like hepatitis A.
Holy cows, that's crazy.
Norovirus, E. coli, Salmonella.
I will say I've never gotten sick from Chipotle, luckily.
And Clostridium perfringens. And those are just the outbreaks that made it to the news. Many of you probably know people who are food poisoned after eating at Chipotle.
I actually don't.
Or maybe it even happened to you.
It did not, as I said.
Yet, despite all these red flags, Chipotle is doing better than ever. In the last 12-month period, Chipotle brought in $8.4 billion in revenue and ended up profiting $800 million. Similarly, they've expanded to over 3,000 locations across the US. And it's not just their fundamentals that have been doing well either. Chipotle stock has also held up extraordinarily well throughout the recession, being down only a mere 20%. This pegs Chipotle's valuation at $41 billion, which nearly makes them a top 10 food brand in terms of market cap.
Wow.
For perspective,
I did not realize they were that big. I mean, I knew they were popular, but that big? That's crazy.
It's over 3 times larger than Domino's Pizza. Given their popularity, you would think that addressing their food poisoning concerns would be their top priority. And according to their PR,
I was going to say, I remember when they shut down all the Chipotles and everything, like around at least here in Ohio, but I think it was all the way around the country. I know they were talking about there was like outbreaks in Ohio, but again, I'm pretty sure all the way around the country, they like closed them down and had like national retraining and safety days. And like, how hard is it to keep your heat and everything at the correct temperature? Like even like when they cook their chicken and stuff, how hard is it to like make sure you're washing stuff properly? Make sure it's the right temperatures. You have thermometers nowadays. I mean, my gosh, with all the smart stuff we have, they probably have grills that could like tell you like the inside temperature of meats, even without having to like manually stick in, temperature probes and stuff. I don't know.
But when we look at the facts, they don't look nearly as favorable for Chipotle. In fact, it actually looks like they're regressing, given that their outbreaks tend to affect more people today. For example, their first outbreak in 2008 affected 22 customers.
In San Diego,
an outbreak in 2018 ended up affecting 700 people.
Wow.
At first glance, you might think that this is somewhat expected for a chain as large as Chipotle. When you're serving that much food, you're bound to...
I was thinking exactly that. When they were talking about how it was like number 11 and it was like 3 times bigger than Domino's Pizza, I was like, okay, well, it kind of makes sense that sometimes some people would get sick. And that 500,000 number at the beginning of this didn't sound as bad. I mean, it's still bad, half a million, but didn't sound as bad when you're thinking like they did $8.8 billion in revenue.
To serve some that gets people sick. But this is actually not true. McDonald's, for example, has over 10 times the number of locations all over the world.
Okay.
Yet their Wikipedia page only mentions the word outbreak once, and even that was in the context of describing the coronavirus outbreak.
Oh man. Okay, Chipotle, you suck.
Conversely, Chipotle's Wikipedia page mentions the word outbreak a whopping 91 times. What makes this even more confusing is that Chipotle uses much of the same food supply chain as McDonald's.
Wait, really?
So what in the world is going on at Chipotle?
Oh yeah, they probably just get like the same pieces of like grilled chicken that like McDonald's would get, but they probably like cut it up. It has to be like unsanitary. Like it has to be that their workers and stuff are not properly sanitizing stuff, cleaning stuff, reusing, knives and instruments on different types of meats and stuff. Has to be that.
Why do so many people choose to eat there anyway?
Because it's good. They probably got like some kind of addictive something that they put in their food. Let's be honest. They're drugging us.
To understand what's going wrong at Chipotle, we first have to take a look at their origin.
Or am I?
There was a point in time when Chipotle wasn't synonymous with food poisoning. Granted, it's been quite some time. The story of Chipotle
It's been quite some time, though, since they've been.
dates back to 1993 to a man named Steve Ells. Steve was a classically trained chef who had a few years of experience working in the traditional restaurant industry as a sous chef. While this gig gave Steve some experience, he knew from day one that he wanted to open a fine dining restaurant. Jumping to that from just being a sous chef was quite a leap though. So at age 28, Steve borrowed $85,000 from his friends and family and opened a small burrito shop instead in Denver, Colorado. Initially, he estimated that he needed to sell at least 107 burritos per day to be profitable, but he ended up crushing this number. By the end of the first month itself, Steve was selling over 1,000 burritos
Holy
per day.
cows.
This strong reception gave Steve the confidence to take out an SBA loan and open additional restaurants in Colorado. We
Wow.
can't give Steve all the credit though, as he had substantial help
I think it's so funny when people always have to point out like that people got help from their parents or something. Like it's like I mean, I'm not saying that it doesn't matter at all, but it's just like people are so quick to be like, well, he only got there because of his parents. His dad had a ton of money. Or he only like people do that with Gary Vee, people do that with, and I'm not saying that they aren't necessarily correct, although with Gary Vee, I don't know that they're correct. But with a lot of people, like I'm not saying like, you know, even Elon Musk, people say it about like his parents were wealthy. I'm not saying that's not true or anything like that, but that doesn't take away from like the cool that these people do. I mean, just saying. Now, if this guy's like poisoning people because they can't get their together, I mean, that's not a cool thing, and obviously, never
from
mind.
his father. You
But I'm
see,
just saying
Steve's
overall.
father was a wealthy pharmaceutical executive, and while he was hesitant to invest at ground zero, once he saw these results, he became a mass investor, putting in $1.5 million. Despite having access to all this capital, Steve was in no rush to open up a bunch of restaurants or expand outside of the state for two reasons. For one, Steve strongly believed in keeping the business simple and straightforward. And this is very much a core principle of Chipotle to
I mean, that's why I've always liked them. Like, it's supposed to be like simple ingredients and not all this added stuff. And I
this
mean, I think
day.
that's why a lot of people like them.
This is basically their entire menu. And two, turning Chipotle into a nationwide giant was never Steve's vision. His goal was to simply get some experience running Chipotle before switching over to fine dining.
So what
But
happened?
By 1998, it was becoming extremely difficult to stick to this original vision, simply due to how well Chipotle was doing. Instead of resisting it, Steve would simply embrace the change and go all in on Chipotle, opening their first restaurant outside of Colorado in 1998. Now that Chipotle was no longer just a local sensation, bigger investors would become interested, particularly McDonald's.
Oh, what
McDonald's
the?
started off with a small stake, but they would end up making Chipotle into who they are today. Over the next 7 years, McDonald's helped Chipotle grow from 16 locations to over 500 locations by
Wow.
investing a whopping $360 million, which gave them a 90% stake in the company.
Oh, wow. McDonald's owns 90%?
But money wasn't even the biggest asset that McDonald's brought to the
Their
table.
supply chain.
Their primary
For
contribution was, of course,
Oh,
their
yeah, experience too. But
While
also their
McDonald's
supply
gets
chain.
a bad rep for selling highly processed junk food, one thing you can't argue with is that they're exceptional at selling.
Because it tastes so good. I mean, come on. Like, why does it have to taste so good? I did not know that they own Chipotle, though. Like, I mean, pretty much. Like, that's crazy.
Said food. They've honed in everything from marketing and franchising to the supply chain and food safety. And this expertise was very much evident.
So then it makes it even more confusing at the beginning where he said like McDonald's has like one term of outbreak or whatever and Chipotle has like all these, but yet McDonald's is the one helping them. Like you would think they would be able to keep their together if
Chipotle's
they did
flawless
so well
growth
with
from 16
McDonald's.
stores to 500 stores.
And that's probably when they opened where I live and I started eating them.
But unfortunately for Chipotle, McDonald's would not stick around forever.
Okay.
While McDonald's was crushing it with Chipotle, the same could not be said about their own business. During the dot-com crash, McDonald's stock would sell off 75%, and it would take them 8 years to return to their former highs. While much of this was simply due to the state of the economy, McDonald's executives decided that they had to stop spending so much effort on relatively small investments like Chipotle,
Fair enough.
and instead focus on their own growth. So, in 2006, they decided to take Chipotle public and sell off their entire stake. Despite all this selling pressure, Chipotle went on to have an extremely successful IPO. Before going public, Chipotle actually raised their IPO price twice. But even with that, Chipotle ended up rocketing 100% during their first day as a public company.
Wow.
This made Chipotle the second best restaurant IPO
That's
since
crazy.
the dot-com crash.
That's a big...
This strong support from investors made it seem like Chipotle would have a smooth time even without McDonald's. But almost immediately, you could see the consequences. Just 2 years after McDonald's left, Chipotle would have their first notable health crisis in March of 2000.
What would change, though? Just because McDonald's left, I mean, they should have had everything set up at that point. I mean, and knowing how these companies work from working in, I mean, not food necessarily, but a lot of bigger companies and stuff, like Fortune companies, like they normally have all of this stuff like laid out and written, like, you know, they got 50,000 pages of like how things are, like for every little thing you got to do, they got like some kind of procedure you're supposed to follow. So I'm kind of shocked that like it would just fall apart. I mean, I guess it took 2 years after they left to fall apart, but still.
A Chipotle location in La Mesa, California would be linked to 22 cases of hepatitis A. Just 1 month later, Chipotle would have yet another outbreak. This time, the disease was norovirus and it ended up infecting
Ohio.
440
That's not too far from where I live.
people. So, what in the world happened within these 24 months?
I don't know. You tell us.
One of the most notable points was Chipotle's trend towards decentralization. I don't think you'd be surprised to hear that McDonald's was a strong proponent of centralized operations. Virtually all of their ingredients come from mass distributors like Keystone Foods. Every year, Keystone Foods alone delivers 150 million pounds of beef,
Wow.
300 million pounds of chicken, and 15
Wait, chicken sells more than beef? I'm kind of shocked by
million
that.
pounds of fish to McDonald's.
Let me be
While
honest.
this style of supply chain raises a lot of questions regarding animal treatment, preservatives, and GMOs, one thing that's not in question is consistency. When all of your food comes from one location, it's all gonna be the same. More importantly though, a simplified supply chain makes it easier to maintain
I mean,
quality
that's,
and
yeah, all
identify
true.
issues.
I didn't even think about all that, but yeah, they did like go towards this, like, oh, you know, we source locally and da da da, and then you're dealing with all these local farms, and all of them gotta like be up to. And I mean, do you have people going out and checking every one of these farms? Like, that does seem very difficult.
Given that much of Chipotle's entire brand is built around simplicity, you would think that Steve would stick to a centralized supply chain, but he actually had other plans. You see, Steve had caught sense of a larger food trend which pushed people to ditch junk food and eat healthier. Being an opportunistic businessman, Steve decided to jump onto this trend of producing quote-unquote organic, locally sourced food. Looking back,
That's what I said.
this was a perfect choice in terms of their marketing and
It
branding.
was. I
and
mean, that's why everybody loved them.
also the ethical choice.
I mean, they taste good too, obviously, but you know what I'm saying.
This turned out to be a nightmare in terms of quality control.
What I was saying. Supply chain
Today,
hell.
Chipotle tries to source as many ingredients as possible from within a 350-mile radius. While this locally grown produce idea sounds great on paper, there is a reason that mega food corporations shy away from this idea. It's because it's virtually impossible to maintain standards across thousands of suppliers, and Chipotle would figure this out the hard way. This decentralized
So I wonder if today, like in 2023, that they've moved back to like a.
supply
I don't know if I noticed them branded anymore as like organic local stuff.
chain also put a lot of strain on Chipotle stores because their stores were built to operate in the exact opposite manner, with simplicity.
Right,
Chipotle locations don't have any freezers, microwaves, or even can openers. This means that the staff have to take on a lot of responsibility when it comes to preparing the food. Given that it's a restaurant, you would think that this would be a given, but it's not. Most fast food places structure their business such that fast food workers don't have to do much preparation. Basically, everything comes pre-made, meaning that the workers simply have to heat up the food or assemble it.
Wait, really? I mean, I thought they like actually cooked the chicken and stuff, but that's just for like looks.
Chipotle workers, on the other hand,
Oh, never mind. I apparently missed the part there.
are literally given raw ingredients.
Right. Given raw ingredients.
They literally make the food in front of you. This would be okay if we were talking about an actual sit-down restaurant filled with experienced staff. But most Chipotle locations are run by young adults and high school students,
True.
so there is a massive learning curve. In 2015 and 2016, during the worst of Chipotle's outbreaks, Chipotle actually spent a lot of effort on strengthening their training
That's what I
programs.
said at the beginning of this. I remember when they like shut down all the stores and stuff to do all this program and stuff.
But this quickly led
Or
them
all this
to yet
training and
another
stuff.
issue: employee turnover. Just as employees start to get the hang of things, they leave. In 2021, Chipotle's
Pay your workers more.
turnover rate was 194%. This
Wow.
means that the average employee barely sticks around for 4 months, which is not that surprising given that it's a near minimum wage job. Chipotle has tried
You probably would have been better off, instead of spending all that money on all that training and everything, to just pay your employees better, which would make them stay longer. Like, dude, companies waste money on all this. And it's like, you wouldn't have, like, you probably wouldn't even have these quality issues and need this training if you had people sticking around to learn their jobs and do them well and everything.
to combat this by handing out cash and stock bonuses, offering
Or just pay them more. Why all these bonuses and stock, and like, just increase the hourly rate?
maternity/paternity coverage,
I swear to God, these businesses are so dumb.
and even offering life insurance and short-term disability. But none of this can change the fundamental fact that, in the end,
Because high school kids don't give a shit about that stuff.
it's still a fast food job. And this is really the story of Chipotle as a whole. They're trying to do all these great things like sourcing local food and promoting healthier options.
They are great things.
But they're still a fast food place, and they have to deal with all of the limitations that come along with that. And these issues are only made worse by seemingly negligent leadership. While Steve started Chipotle with a great passion for food, it seems that over the years, he has become much more interested in the money. In fact, Chipotle is infamous for paying their executives ridiculous sums of money.
But not their employees who handle everything.
Back in the early 2010s, Chipotle paid out $300 million to their co-CEOs. These guys were earning FANG CEO-type salaries, even though Chipotle was pulling in less than 1% of the revenue of companies like Apple or Google.
Wow.
Not to mention, their profit margins were way lower as well. Shareholders did eventually put their foot down and refuse to approve such compensation packages. But this just goes to show where the executives' priorities really were.
It's crazy, man. Greed. It's what it always... The state of What the...
Really were.
The state of
Considering all this, why in the world do people continue to eat at Chipotle?
Because I've never personally had an issue and it tastes great. And it's fairly cheap for
Well,
what it is.
the answer is simple.
And it's fast.
As this Quora user puts it, Chipotle actually serves real food, or at least realer food than other fast food joints. Real food comes with real flavors that create
True.
a unique appeal, but they also come with real risk. The only way to avoid this risk is to cook
Why are we showing hamburgers for Chipotle?
yourself, spend a fortune on eating out, or eat highly processed bland foods. And given that most people are 1, too lazy to cook themselves, 2, not rich enough to eat out at 5-star restaurants regularly, and 3, want something more
Why does it have to be 5-star restaurants?
than McDonald's or Burger King junk, they flock to something in the middle, which just so happens
Makes
to
sense.
be Chipotle.
Makes sense.
So Chipotle's greatest strength is also their biggest weakness.
Right, so they
And
can't really move
only
away
have
from
two
that.
options moving forward. They can re-centralize like the legacy competition, or they can try to fix what they already have. It's clear which side Chipotle has chosen, and looking at their fundamentals, it's working out just fine. Are you a fan of Chipotle? Comment that down below.
Yeah, let me know. Do you guys like Chipotle still? Do people still eat there? I will say, I used to eat at Chipotle a lot more than I do nowadays. I used to like eat at Chipotle, I'd say like once or twice a week. I'd go in and grab a bowl. Now I might eat it like once a month, maybe once every other month. Like I don't even know if I eat it once a month anymore. I would say like once every 2 months I probably eat Chipotle at this point. When I said I have hotheads locally, even that though, I don't eat it like on a regular basis like I used to eat Chipotle. I don't know if they're as popular as they used to be, but maybe they are and I just quit eating them as much. So let me know down in the comments below. Also, if you guys like this video, hit the like button. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more videos like this. We hang out, we watch videos, we talk about them. Let me know what you think. I love chatting about this stuff, different things that I see on the internet and stuff. It's just always interesting learning new stuff and chatting with people about that stuff. So also, I'll leave a link to the original video down in the description below so you can go check that out if you want. And until next time, peace out, everybody. Later, nerds.